Um, this is a public service announcement. Uh, FYI, Jesus, he was broke. For you Christians, he had nothing. Hence, making the rock make water. Turning fish to feed one fish to feed many. All these different things. So, all you money hungry, money grumbling Christians, give it a rest.
The blood as a youth service. Exactly. They in the world court right now, baby. This America exists no more as we know it. If you notice when he makes speeches, there is no more presidential seal behind him, which means we in motherfucking martial law and there are no elections. No.
Right now. Yeah, I said
people really looting.
The planet of the apes was more organized, and they take over than these dudes out here right now. You know why? Because the apes didn't have cell phones.
That it was going to be in the best interest of everyone out there if we could trace and track people who might have come in contact with something that doesn't even exist, a disease that doesn't exist. And people said, okay, that sounds like a good idea. That way I won't get sick. It's in my best interest, right? And how long does it take after it to suddenly see that they're going to be using contact tracing because people have opted in and allowed it to start tracking people's behavior? Now, obviously, all of these ridiculous riots that are going on around the country, they begin through funding. They begin through funding by people like George Soros, who's already been connected to Antifa. He's already been connected to Black Lives Matters. They're connected to it. They pay people to go there and protest. People on the front lines of the protest who do these things like blowing things up and setting fires to cars. This is all part of the show. What this does is it causes other people, it entices them to join in and be quote unquote proactive. Now they're using contact tracing to track the people who are showing up for these events. You know why? They want to see how their mind control is working on people. As all
do the Most High elected people have a mass takeover? Plain as day. Nowhere in the Holy Bible, see if you was following that word, nowhere in the Holy Bible do the Most High elected people have a mass takeover with rocks and signs and gasoline and lighters. No, not there. It's not there. See, people are out here fighting for equality. The Most High deemed you special above many, many nations. So that means you're not even equal to these devils that you're fighting to be equal with. You're above them. Yeah, you're not equal to them, and they're not equal to you. You are above them.
Policy basically hyper polices black and brown neighborhoods, criminalizing black people, criminalizing brown people. You jaywalk, the cops are on you. Drop some litter on the ground, cops are on you. You're standing, cops are on you. You're walking, cops are on you. You are getting ready to step off the curb, cops are on you. That hyper policing is the policy that Mayor Rudy Giuliani said was working. And while he talked about it, he said, and my police force is the most restrained and best behaved in the United States.
If it's not really a bioweapon, it certainly has taken the U.S.-China trade war to another level. Trade war has become biological warfare, and people are being targeted with their lives. Part of the trade war, of course, was the controversy with a company called Huawei, the leaders in 5G technology. The center of 5G technology is China, and the center of 5G technology in China is Wuhan City, or Hubei, in Hubei province. And when they turned on or switched on the most potent 5G network in the world in Wuhan City, that's when the epidemic broke out. So there are scientists who think that there is an electronic component to what would otherwise just be a biological phenomenon. The virus is on the borderline of living things versus non-living things. It is protein wrapped around genetic material, either RNA.
5G is 60 megahertz of radiation. Radiation is like chemo. So you gonna have people walking around out here on chemo that ain't in the goddamn hospital. Chemo causes respiratory difficulties, flu-like symptoms, headaches, nausea, and dizziness. Come on. That's the symptoms of the goddamn coronavirus.
Yeah.
Now,
He got on Twitter and said, if y'all keep looting, we gonna start shooting. If y'all keep looting, we gonna start shooting. He told you plain as day. Twitter had it removed. But guess what?
phosphate in your food, drugs in your neighborhood. You think they gonna save us from a fucking virus? When they poisoning you on a daily goddamn basis?
Kind of think about it.
Oh! You know?
And you said it's from the phones and shit?
5G.
5G radiation?
5G is 60 megahertz of radiation. See, you think they just came up with that shit? That's what COVID stands for. That's what they pushing for. A certificate of vaccination. These are no coincidences. And cousins. You my nephews, my brothers, my cousins. You ain't no different than them. I would never treat you any different.
There should be a code of conduct in our community that don't exist. What happened to George Floyd was traumatizing to a lot of people. It was evil. It was demented. It was twisted. Those cops was tyrants. But I'm gonna put this out here. If the onlookers would have helped this man, you wouldn't see the current climate that you see right now. And that's not the guilt trip. That's not the guilt trip, the onlookers. Because I get it. You were afraid of a badge. Although those men didn't look strong at all, they looked feeble and weak. But guess what? If you would have helped your brother, it would have never happened. So what is the takeaway? The takeaway is you don't allow that to happen in your community no more. You learn from situations. A cop is beating on your brother or sister unlawfully. You band together. You help that brother or sister. That's where eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth comes into play. That's where the book of Ecclesiastes come into play. Now, right now, what we got going on is chaos. A lot of people are out there in the name of mischief, because I'm gonna put it out here. When friendly protests went wrong in Minnesota, every other city that participated already knew that they was getting into some mischief, because the friendly protesters, they went home. They already knew they was getting into some mischief, y'all. Which, I'm not against violence when it needs to be violence. I'm not against retaliation when it needs to be retaliation, but I'm intelligent. I understand warfare. And now he's telling you on the news, Governor Cuomo, he's telling you that he understands why you're rioting. He understands. He's all for the cause. Now Cuomo got a black fist up, y'all. He got a black fist up now. You know why? Because he knows that you're about to be led to your demise. He knows it's a trap. He knows. Some of y'all need to invest in some books, man. Outwitting the Devil, Napoleon Hill. Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Some of y'all need to research media psyops, military psyops, police psyops. Some of y'all need to read out of the book Morals and Dogma by Albert Pike, which was a 33rd degree Mason. Scottish Rite. Predicted all the world wars, predicted the times that we would live in, how they will overcome and conquer us. Some of y'all need to look how Rome fell in history, the fall of Rome. This ain't no game, y'all. They are setting the stage for a real live purge. Now, a couple years ago, I did a video. In this video, I was making a comparison to the real purge. Well, I was making a comparison to the last Purge movie that came out, which was called The First Purge. And ironically enough, everybody that was in the hoods and the ghettos and poverty, especially in New York, because it mainly took place in New York, how they would begin to just start engaging us with military. Here's the crazy part. Everybody in the Purge movie was wearing masks.
Them or town near them. But this is them fishing. And listen for yourself and get a load, which just always, right? This is the Department of Public Safety in Minnesota. Get a load of the logo before you hear them even admit that they're using contact tracing. Wow, it is Minnesota, and look what's inside it. A pyramid and a pentagram, star. Boy, that's not a coincidence. I guess they just love pyramids and pentagrams / stars too. Are they big cowboy fans out there in Minnesota with the Vikings there? Are they just big fans of stars? Are we supposed to believe it's a star in outer space? Give me a break. They use signs and symbols right in front of our faces, just like this. It is such a joke. But listen to them talk about how they're going to use contact tracing now in Minnesota to find out who's coming from where, what groups they're affiliated with, what friends they have, so they can make people guilty by association.
As we've begun making arrests, we have begun analyzing the data of who we've arrested and begun actually doing what you would think is almost very similar to our COVID. It's contact tracing. Who are they associated with? What platforms are they advocating for? And we have seen things like white supremacist organizers who have posted things on platforms about coming to Minnesota. We're checking to see, do the folks that we have made arrests on and that we have information, are they connected to those platforms? We have seen flyers about protests where folks have talked about they're going to get their loot on tonight. And we're checking to see, are they part of an organized criminal organization? And if so, what is that organization and how are they organized?
The last 3 weeks, people shopping, eating, all of that shit. So, and people still believing that that motherfucking virus is dying in 80 degrees heat. Your motherfucking body 98.2, 24/7, 365. How it's gonna live? It cannot. You can breathe in steam, put a pot on your stove.
With the orange pills?
Shanghai, China has not one
Not
case.
one death?
Not one. You know why?
Why?
Because all of the richest people in China live in Shanghai. That is the crux of the economy. Shanghai. They've been back in business for the last 3 weeks. People shopping, eating, all of that shit.
Why are black women considered hood and ghetto, but women from the Philippines and other countries, third world countries, are considered exotic? Why don't nobody ever tell the little black boys that as soon as you get money, you get a white woman? Beware. It's a package deal. Where are the real men? Do they exist? Why nobody comes forth and tell these little girls to stop buying all this damn hair? I mean, shit. Synthetic hair does the same thing. Buying somebody else's hair is not what it is. I just want to say, if you're scared, say you're scared. Don't act like it's something else when you're just scared and you're like bitch made and you're just scared. That's just it. You're just scared. When you have power to do something and you don't, that means you're scared.
Any of those contentions, Trump also has been spreading falsehoods on social media. Although starting late this afternoon, Twitter started adding links to fact-check the posts by the president. Tonight, Trump responded with this accusation, quote, "Twitter is now interfering in the 2020 presidential election. Twitter is completely stifling free speech and